This video provides my comments on the 1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan, proposed investment in the pre-K, preschool for 3 to 4-year-olds, and how to improve school performance. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In my February 11, 2022 video titled Comments on the 1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan and tax issues, I discuss the results of various studies on pre-K projects for 3 to 4-year-olds, most of which show that the major benefits of investment in pre-K are long-term behavioral rather than higher scores in academic performance. While the performance of kids who went through pre-K went up, it usually faded by third grade. That is concerning for me. While the long-term benefits of pre-K are impressive and provide a good return on investment, intuitively there should be benefits in academic performance as well for investment in education. I have 25 years of experience as a student, which includes up to PhD level courses. I have performed very well academically for most of my years as a student. I also carefully observed how other students at the top of the class studied. I am going to draw on all this experience to make suggestions for additional investment in school education, which will also help students in college perform better academically. For anyone to be successful in any worthwhile endeavor, there is no substitute for hard work. That is also true for academic performance by students. The maxim makes perfect applies well for academic performance. Intelligence as a natural gift also plays a very important role. Average students who work hard can go far. Gifted students with hard work can go much further. A further distinction must be made between gifted students and the exceptionally gifted students. Gifted students with hard work can perform very well academically as well as professionally later in life. But the exceptionally gifted students with hard work will be at the top of their class and be at the cutting edge of their discipline and make many significant contributions to advance the state of the art of the discipline or profession. So, what is the importance of raising the performance of average students? While the exceptionally gifted and gifted students upon entering the workforce will keep the nation at the cutting edge of industry through innovation, it is the average students who daily man the lines in industry for companies and manufacturing industries. It is important that they perform efficiently. The standard of the average student has to be raised for that purpose so that they can keep the company or the manufacturing plants humming without much intervention or constant guidance by the topmost technical experts. And they often come up with many innovative ideas based on their experiences in their trenches. That is why it is very important to have very competent middle level average people. Because of their large numbers, they are the backbone of the country and of any industry. And corporations pay special attention to improve their performance. That is why it is very important to raise their general standard through academic performance and later in professional life. Let me now explain what I mean by saying that there is no substitute for hard work and that the gifted will perform better academically and in their profession with hard work. I'm going to illustrate the concepts with the example of a test in, say, a math or physics class. In a math test, there will be many different topics such as arithmetic, algebra, geometry, trigonometry, etc., and there will be subtopics in each. All students will study and prepare for the year end final exams. For this preparation, the teacher gives the students a series of tests covering a mix of topics as expected in the final exam. These are practice tests. The teacher gives the first practice test with, say, 100 questions. The actual number of questions will obviously be much lower, but for ease of illustration, let's assume that the teacher gives practice tests with 100 questions. This is merely an illustration. All students may not experience improvements in academic performance in the same way as I'm going to describe, but the process is close to actual experience. Assume the average student gets 60% of questions right in the practice test, the gifted student gets 80% right, and the exceptionally gifted student gets 90% right. The three categories of students maintain the same percentage of right answers in subsequent practice tests. The students then analyze the results, and in preparing for the next practice test, each student concentrates on studying mainly the topics in which he got wrong answers, mainly reading the correct solutions to the ones the student got wrong or any other perceived weak subtopic. In the next practice test, the average student will still get 60% right in the subtopics that he had already done well in and get 60% right in the subtopics he concentrated on after the first test. So he scores 84% in the second practice test next time. The gifted students get 96% right because he gets 80% right on the topics he already knew, then 80% of the remaining 20% that he studied again. So the exceptionally gifted student gets 99% right or perhaps 100% right. So to perform better, the students concentrate on the subtopics in which they got wrong answers. In the next practice test, the average students will probably get 93 to 94% right in the third practice test. The gifted students will likely score 100%, and the exceptionally gifted students will continue to score 100%. To score even higher, the average student and the gifted students will have to study harder, concentrating on the subtopics in which they got wrong answers, and the exceptionally gifted students will probably not need to study the subtopics further. In the next practice test, the average students will probably score 97%, and the gifted student will probably score 100%. So, this example illustrates how a gifted student will have to work harder than an exceptionally gifted student to score 99 to 100% in a subject, while an average student will have to work twice as hard by doing more practice tests or just studying the correct answers the student got wrong in the previous test than a gifted student to obtain the same score. With hard work, gifted as well as average students can do well in academics as well as professionally. But all students have the same amount of time available to them. Because average students take longer to master a subtopic and they have to allocate time to different subjects, they may not have the amount of time that they require to master each subtopic to be able to score 100%. That's why finally they usually do less well academically than exceptionally gifted students. But if they devote more time to studies than gifted students, they can narrow the gap considerably in performance. In addition, by simply solving more problems, practice makes perfect. Intelligence of average students goes up. It improves their naturally gifted intelligence. They become smarter and get the knack of transforming real life problems in mathematical terms and solving them. By the way, I use this method of giving practice tests to a relative and it worked. Now, in science and technology subjects, there is yet a higher or deeper level of understanding that usually gifted and exceptionally gifted students have. Only they are at the cutting edge of their disciplines and are capable of solving new problems and advance the state of the art. Of course, to be at the cutting edge of their disciplines, they have to master the tools of the trade, the science and mathematics that enable them to solve scientific and technical problems which require hard work. So we can see how doing well academically requires working harder to study more of what you are weak at in a subject after you are confident that you have mastered the easier parts. Solving problems means understanding the logic behind the solution. Those who do very well academically solve more than just homework problems. They solve more problems given at the end of the chapters on their own. Now, understanding some of the difficult topics for an average student who got wrong answers will require extra coaching, either from the class teacher after having done a practice test or homework, or someone at home or a tutor. It is very difficult for a class teacher to provide one on one coaching to every student and monitor his or her progress. If the student does not receive that coaching, that subtopic is not mastered. The student then falls behind in class. If coaching in these subtopics is never received, the student falls behind permanently. It leaves them frustrated, losing interest in the subject, or settling for mediocre performance. This is the reason various studies of pre-K programs showed no gains in academic performance, uh, 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 but large gains in behavioral factors. After intervention by qualified teachers in the pre-K and Head Start programs, the kids were left on their own without further coaching, which their less educated or busy mothers could not provide. That is why after about third grade, they performed no better than the other kids who did not go through the pre-K programs. The effect of mediocre performance in one grade continues through higher grades because understanding subjects in higher grades and solving problems require using the tools of algebra, calculus, geometry, trigonometry, and other subjects learned in lower grades. Poor understanding of a subtopic becomes a weak link for study in higher grades, and the student may never be able to catch up unless he goes back and becomes proficient in the subtopic that should have been mastered in the lower grades. The methods I have described for improving academic performance are useful for math and science subjects. However, many other subjects and even portions of science subjects require a great deal of memorization. Students develop their own methods for memorizing course material. I can share the method I found effective for myself, which I use even now when I need to understand an issue thoroughly. I usually write notes as I am studying a subject. These days, the process has become easier as one can copy and paste in one's notes from online written course material. Then I merely read my notes, referring to the original material only if I need to clarify something. From the notes, I may write further condensed notes, mainly headings, with a short summary of the concept. These condensed notes are about 5 to 10 pages long, which then can be easily memorized in one day of the final exam. So, for the final exam, then I merely have to study my condensed notes or formulas. That method came in handy when we had 5 or 6 final exams in 5 or 6 days, allowing only one day to study and memorize an entire course. This method served me well throughout my student days. Now, making notes is a laborious method, but writing notes in addition to reading aids memorization considerably. Now, what I have stated is not rocket science, and many have had the same experiences as students and may even be offended at my stating the obvious. But I state it anyway because I don't see any solutions being implemented at the national level, though parents who have resources such as are able to afford private tuition or are educated enough to personally coach their children implement their own solutions. Now, based on my experiences in doing well at academics and interacting with other top students, I can make the following recommendations for improving academics performance of students in all grades. First, no class teacher has adequate time to coach each student individually. All students don't have educated parents who can coach them at home. But academic performance cannot be improved for all students unless students get coaching help with their homework and have difficult subjects explained or homework problems solved in one-on-one basis sessions. However, COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated how one-on-one coaching can be made available online cost effectively after school hours. So, my recommendation is that all school districts should be provided adequate federal, state, and or local funding to develop programs to help all students who need it. And all students won't need it as some have private resources available to them. So, all students who need it with their homework after hours. Substitute teachers and volunteers who would have an interest in raising the academic performance level in their school district could be employed for providing such help. Regular teachers could also be given an additional incentive by being allowed to moonlight after hours as online tutors. In my opinion, this will prove to be the most effective investment in improving the academic performance of students in all grades. The funding required to implement the program nationwide probably will not be too large. However, then the benefits of pre-K will not only be in behavioral factors but also in academic performance. Number two, we have to be on guard against German masqueraders and their allies who have been involved in a decades long conspiracy to lower educational standards in America. They will try to sabotage any attempts to improve the system. They may not teach students or even discourage them from studying. We must also bear in mind that 3 to 5 years are some of the best ages 3 to 5 years are some of the best learning years for children when they absorb a lot of teaching that gives them a head start in higher grade levels. Number 3, it is important to encourage students to develop critical thinking to be able to think through and solve problems on their own. Therefore, when homework is initially given, solutions to problems should not be provided. However, after the students have made attempts on their own and then the problems have been discussed in class, the solutions to the problems must be provided. I simply don't understand why some teachers hoard answers to the practice problem sheets they give to students or even for exams, midterm exams. It's impossible for every student in class to absorb 100% of what the teacher went through in class. Without the solutions, the students who did not absorb 100% of what was said in class will not be able to master the subtopic. I believe not providing solutions to practice problems is a major impediment that keeps average students from performing better academically as well as developing a better understanding of the subject matter. Number 4, one of the big problems in teaching science or any other subjects is to motivate students to understand why they need to study the subject and why they are studying each subtopic in a subject. Students often wonder whether they are ever going to put what they are being taught to any use. They think they are wasting time learning all the math and science subjects in which they have no interest or aptitude. It should be explained to the students that what they are learning are tools that will be used for solving problems in real life and examples of professions provided where a particular subtopic is applied. It should be explained that one does not know which math tool will need to be applied to solve a particular science, engineering, or even finance and management problem. Math and science are useful even for those who do not want to pursue a career in science, math, or engineering. Because knowing math and science, they will be able to deal effectively with contractors working on their homes or properties, or dealing with accountants or financial advisors, understand investments, explain situation or things in real life that require a scientific explanation, or even teach their kids who may then be motivated to pursue careers in science, engineering, or other professions that make use of mathematics. Students should be taught that no knowledge is ever wasted, even if they don't want to pursue a career in a specific field. One never knows where any knowledge could come in handy, even if it is simply for having an intelligent social conversation on a subject which may lead to a significant opportunity in life. All students should be taught the value of doing their best in whatever endeavor they put their hand to or are required to in life. Additional investment in implementing these solutions will probably not be large, but I believe the result will be a better educated workforce and American citizenry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people do not have the time to go through the full length of videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide the facility to make the text of my videos available on YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that facility. So I make the text of my videos available on my Facebook channel, which you can easily copy.